everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies Sports History for July 13th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition, kind of a rainy, humid, just soupy Saturday out there. Let's start with the Phils. And before the game, Whit Merrifield was released. Weston Wilson was called up immediately into the starting lineup. And I think I'm okay with that. To me, it shows that Dave Dombrowski is not afraid to, one, admit that maybe he made a mistake signing someone and just figures it's best to move on. And it also kind of shows that I wonder if they weren't as good as they were if he would have released him. It may have been more of a, hey, a big move is coming. And despite the fact of what Johan Rojas has been doing in the field, I still feel like there's probably a big move coming. But he isn't messing around. Looks like he's all in. Now, to the field, it's almost like they thought they could cakewalk over the A's. But, hey, sometimes this happens. I look for them to bounce back today. Ranger definitely is struggling, so hopefully some time off will do him wonders. He did, I saw in an interview, say he's just really trying so hard. So I don't know if it's a situation where he was missing there and now he's really struggling to get back. But we'll see. The time off will do him well. Tyler Phillips makes the start today. South Jersey's own. Grew up a Phillies fan. It's definitely kind of a good story. See how, and I have no idea who's pitching tomorrow, but I look for them to bounce back today and recover from that 6-2 loss to the A's. Braves won, so the lead is now 8.5. Like, I just think they got caught sleeping. I think they thought they were going to carry that momentum. It's the A's. It was a perfect letdown spot. Like, we talk about that in the NFL all the time. Perfect letdown spot. You just swept the Dodgers. The A's are not a good team coming in, and they got caught. But, man, their closer, 104 miles an hour. That's just ridiculous. And it looked like me out there trying to hit an 80-mile-per-hour fastball. It's just, hopefully they can get a lead and not have to worry about seeing this guy tonight. So looking forward. Let's get this series, take 2 out of 3, and head into the All-Star break and give everybody some rest. I've been telling you about Philly Goat. The John Kruk is my spirit animal shirt. 10% of the proceeds go to Battle Brothers. I've been telling you all summer about the shoes. Getting ready to go down to Ocean City, Maryland. I will be packing my canvas loafers. I'll probably take the Schmitties and probably the Fanatics as well, just for the sake of it. But you got to go check out Philly Goat. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Great selection of t-shirts. The shoes, though, are amazing. Just be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Some Sixers news, and they get back to Summer League tonight, the Vegas version of that. But lots of still movement going on in the free agent world. KJ Martin re-signed a 2-year deal. Multiple sources that I saw that this is likely going to be so they have some trade bait or guys to trade or something to trade at midseason to improve the team. I like it because he should be able to provide some spark before he gets traded and could ultimately either play his way into the Sixers rotation or give them, like I said, a piece to trade for later in the season. There's still some rumors going around that Gary Trent Jr. might be the next one to sign, maybe even for a cheap prove-it deal. I think ultimately he would be in the mix to be in the starting lineup, has experience playing under Nick Nurse. They didn't necessarily have the best relationship, but he's very close with Rico Hines, one of Nurse's assistants. And I really do, like I said, think that this would be a good move for this year, especially if you're thinking we can go all in, get him in on a prove-it deal. I would not be opposed to that either. But the fact that people want to play for Nick Nurse and his staff is the complete opposite of where we were with Doc. So just one more time this week, kudos to Daryl Morey and Elton Brand for really working hard and taking the criticism as they were trying to clean up this Sixers culture and this Sixers team. So kudos to you guys. But hopefully we get some updates on the Gary Trent Jr. I think that would be a good fit that I would not mind taking. And have a little bit of competition for that starting shooting guard spot, and nothing wrong with a little competition. Union in action tonight in Toronto. It's a big game. If they're going to turn it around, this is where it's got to start. There's only 3 points separating the Union and Toronto in the wild card standings. As bad as the Union have been, they're right there in the mix. So this would be good time to get on track. No distractions down with the home fans in Chester. Let's go up to Toronto and get the win tonight. All right, we're going to hop in the way back machine today and go all the way back to 1896. And on this day in 1896, the Phillies lost to the Colts in Chicago. They were one of the early names of the Cubs, 9-8. But Ed Delahanty went 5 for 5 with 4 home runs, 2 of them inside the park. The only person to ever hit 4 home runs in the game, and 2 of them being inside the park. And nobody else has done an inside the park home run during a 4 home run game. At the time, he was only the second player to ever hit 4 homers in a game, and only 18 have done it in the history of Major League Baseball. But Delahanty was one of 3 Phillies to do it. Chuck Klein did it in the 30s. Mike Schmidt did it in the 70s. And then the Dodgers are the only other team to do it, and they've done it twice. The last time a player hit 4 home runs in a game was 2017. It was J.D. Martinez. But in that game, Delahanty had 7 RBI. The game was hot. The people around the Colts, but the Cubs organization said, thank God for Delahanty's hitting, or else these fans would have been miserable sitting in the 100-degree heat out in the sun in Chicago. And despite hitting 4 in a game, Delahanty only had 101 career home runs. It was definitely a different era back then. And for his troubles, a local gum company, I'm assuming Wrigley, I could not find the actual name of the gum company, gave him 4 boxes of gum, 1 for each home run. So that was interesting. I don't know, whatever, 4 boxes of gum. And truthfully, Ed Delahanty must just love playing on July 13th, because then the following year, he went 9 for 9 in a doubleheader sweep of the Louisville Colonels. He just loves playing on July 13th. He went 5 for 5 in 1896. 9 for 9 in a doubleheader in 1897. But on this day, Ed Delahanty became the second player in Major League Baseball to hit 4 home runs in the game, including 2 inside the park. Only has been done 18 total times. It is one of the most rare things to see in a Major League Baseball game. More rare than a perfect game even. There's been 20-some of them, but only 18 4-home run games, including 3 Phillies, Ed Delahanty, Chuck Klein, and Mike Schmidt. Delahanty did it on this day in 1896. All right, it's time for the Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament. Yesterday in the cheesesteak region, it was the answer, knocking out my boy Randall, the ultimate weapon, with 67% of the vote. He will move on to the Sweet 16. And then our first Sweet 16 matchup is set. Out of the Ben Franklin region, the Broad Street Bullies ran all over Lenny Dykstra. And with 93% of the vote, the Broad Street Bullies are moving on and will take on World Be Free in the Sweet 16. Today, though, let's go to the Schuylkill region. And in our first matchup, the number 2 seed, Dr. J, takes on the number 7 seed, Dirty Waters. This should be an interesting matchup as well. Dr. J, Julius Erving's obviously known for his dunks, went to UMass, where he averaged in 2 seasons 26 points, 20 rebounds, one of only 6 NCAA players to do that. Only played 2 years and then went pro, claimed a hardship. Did go to the ABA to play for the Virginia Squires, because at the time the NBA said you needed to be out of high school 4 years before you could play in the NBA. So Virginia welcomed them, went to play for the ABA. Interesting little factoid about when he played at UMass. The year he came into UMass, the NCAA had a rule that you could not dunk. So Nobody saw Dr. J dunk until he went into the pros, unless you saw him on the playgrounds where he got his name. But back to the Squires. So he played a couple seasons for the Squires, and then his draft eligibility for the NBA came up, and he was drafted by the Bucks, which would have put him on a team with Oscar Robertson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Imagine that big three in the NBA back then. However, there was a little controversy there because prior to the draft, he was having some contract issues with the Virginia Squires and had signed a free agent deal with the Hawks. So this caused a three-way dispute between the Squires, who said, no, you got to play for us, the Bucks, who said, no, we drafted you, and the Hawks, who said, hey, you signed a contract here. Took it to court, and the judge sided that he was playing for the Virginia Squires. Ended up on the Nets, and ultimately ended up with the Sixers. We just talked about Dr. J telling Paul George the story of how he was there, needed Moses to get him over the hump. You are Moses, basically, is what he told them. But Dr. J, NBA championship, got the last one here in Philly for the Sixers. Won 2 in the ABA with the Nets. He was a 3-time MVP in the ABA. He won the 1981 NBA MVP. He's on the All-NBA 35th, 50th, and 75th anniversary teams. His number 6 is retired in the rafters down at the Wells Fargo Center. And the origin of his nickname, his boy, Leon Saunders, Dr. J would call him the professor. Leon would call Dr. J Doctor, and it just stuck. There was a lot of people trying to give him other nicknames. He's like, no, call me Doc. And it has just stuck and is one of the more iconic nicknames in all of sports. So tough matchup then for our number 7 seed, Dirty Waters. Andre Waters, went to Cheney State. 3-time All-PSAC while there. He was a member of that Eagles 91 defense who we just talked about last week, who, in my opinion, is the greatest defense of all time. He was known for his hard hits. Sometimes they were questionable, late, a little dirty, but what it did was it put that little bit of doubt in receivers and running backs. He did, though, because of the way he played, did lead the Eagles in tackles 4 times, including being the leading tackler on that 91 defense. He was a fan favorite, racked up penalties and fines, but I just know as a kid, loved those hard-hitting defenses. And to me, take the penalties every now and then. It was worth it because eventually it would pay dividends. He did have 15 career interceptions as well. So I would go as far as say Andre Waters as a player was probably a little underrated. And that happens when you have Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner, those guys on that team. I would say you kind of get lost in there. But Andre Waters was definitely a very underrated player. Got his nickname from Dan Deerdorf, who said he was a cheap shot artist and called him Dirty Waters. And he even had a rule named after him, the Andre Waters rule. So now it's up to you. Who has the better Philly sports nickname in the Schuylkill region? Our number 2 seed, Dr. J, the number 7 seed, Dirty Waters. Get your votes in. Call or text me on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Hit me up on the social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it. You can comment right there on Spotify if that's where you're listening. But please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you have not already. Spread the word, get other people to vote. But who do you got out of the Schuylkill region? The number 2 seed, Dr. J, the number 7 seed, Dirty Waters. Get that vote in. And now we move into another kind of heavyweight matchup out of the Balboa region. We have the number 4 seed, the Hammer, taking on the 5 seed, Weapon X. Let's start with Dave Schultz, the Hammer. He was a member of those Broad Street Bullies teams, 2-time Cup winner, one of the best enforcers and most feared guys in the NHL at that time. He even recorded a song that was only here locally in Philly called The Penalty Box in the mid-'70s, after he set the NHL record that still stands today for 472 penalty minutes in the 74-75 season. I have not been able to locate a copy of The Penalty Box, But if you have a copy of it, send it my way. I would love to listen to it and just see what Dave Schultz was up to then. But despite his reputation as an enforcer, that's where the nickname the Hammer came from, just because he hit hard. He was actually pretty talented as a skater and a scorer as well. Scored 20 goals in that 73-74 season. Scored the game-winning goal and series winner in overtime in the first round against the Atlanta Flames they were back then in 74. So he was more than just a one-trick pony. Met him one time at my buddy's bar. Great dude. Definitely one of those guys. I talked about the Broad Street Bullies yesterday, obviously, but one of those guys, it was fun to just hear him talk, and what was very open to shaking hands and said, hey, how are you? But Dave the Hammer Schultz is our 4 seed out of the Balboa region. He is taking on Weapon X, and really not much needed here. Brian Dawkins, legend. Nickname origin comes from Wolverine on X-Men, his alter ego. When he came out of that tunnel, he became a changed person. Widely considered by most people a top 5 safety of all time. People put him up there with Ronnie Lott, Palomalu, Ed Reed, guys of that nature. But I think they all did something well, and I think Dawkins sort of was like the most versatile, if I had to say that, out of all of them. By far the leader of Jim Johnson's defense. And I feel like you had Ronnie Lott, who was a hard hitter, Palomalu, who was fast. You had Ed Reed, who could hit and kind of work into coverage. But Dawkins would blitz and get his sacks. He was a feared hitter over the middle. He could cover. I mean, the picture of the Superman tackle against the Giants, the fumble where he came off the edge and sealed the game against Ben Roethlisberger in 2008. Who could forget the Aldrin Crumpler hit? A couple seasons before, a lot of people forget about the hit he had on Michael Vick in the divisional round game down at the Vet. I think it was 2002, when basically broke Mike Vick's ribs, I believe, and actually knocked himself out, which Dawkins would hit so hard sometimes he would knock himself out. He had the one where he jumped over the line against Jerome Bettis. Just his speech after the NFC Championship game. He had that game where he had an interception, a fumble recovery, a touchdown, and a sack. Did get his Super Bowl ring as a member of the Eagles in 2017 on the general manager staff, I believe he was. Should have never left Philly in the first place. He is our number 5 seed in the Balboa region. But it's up to you now. Which is a better Philly sports nickname? Is it the Hammer or Weapon X? Get your votes in. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Hit me up on any of the social medias. But today we got out of the Schuylkill region. The matchups are starting to get better. The number 2 seed Dr. J versus the number 7 seed Dirty Waters. And out of the Balboa region, the number 4 seed Dave the Hammer Schultz taking on Brian Dawkins, Weapon X. Who do you got? Get the votes in. Spread the word. And let's do this. All right, back on this day in 1896, Ed Delahanty went 5 for 5, including 4 home runs, becoming the second player to ever hit 4 home runs in a game, and he hit 2 inside the park home runs as well. And only 18 guys have done it, including 2 other Phillies, Mike Schmidt and Chuck Klein. But on this day, it was Ed Delahanty, and we're just going to make July 13th will be Ed Delahanty Day. He went 5 for 5 in 1896, 9 for 9 in 1897. So I hereby say that July 13th, moving forward, is Ed Delahanty Day in the Philadelphia area. Hopefully the Phils can bounce back today against the A's. Not a good, don't really want to have them go into the All-Star break losing a series against the A's, but the rest will be nice. Good luck to Tyler Phillips in pitching in front of the home crowd as the starter tonight. If he can just pick up where he left off the other night, we will be just fine. We'll have more on the Union tomorrow. Hopefully, I am saying that Gary Trent Jr. is a Sixer. And don't forget, I will be out of my normal studio tomorrow, Sunday. Tomorrow is Sunday. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday as we're going down to the beach for a little bit. But you will still get the podcast. Go out and enjoy your Saturday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for July 13th, 2024. Happy Ed Delahanty Day. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.